They rammed straight through my locked gate like it was tissue paper. Two entitled sisters in a dusty white SUV, screaming that guests of the HOA don't need permission. I watched it happen on my camera feed in disbelief, heart racing, fists clenched. You ever felt your blood boil so hot you could hear it in your ears? God, the sound of that metal snapping and twisting under their bumper clang, was worse than nails on a chalkboard. I had just installed that gate 3 weeks ago. Welded steel. Digital lock. And they drove through it because they were late to some backyard brunch a few houses down. I stormed out, still in my flannel pajama pants, holding my coffee like a weapon. Hey! What the hell do you think you're doing? I shouted, voice cracking halfway from rage. The taller one, blonde curls bouncing like she thought she was in a shampoo commercial, didn't even flinch. Relax, neighbor. We're just visiting Karen across the way. It's community space. Community space. That's when it hit me, they were Karen's sisters. Of course. Queen Karen of the HOA who thought bylaws only applied to other people. This wasn't a mistake, it was an extension of her entitlement. And now it was my problem. I called the cops. Of course I did. But by the time they arrived, the SUV was moved, and the sisters stood hand in hand on Karen's porch, pouting like they were the victims. Tears on command. Fake sniffles. Theatrics that would shame Broadway. And somehow the officers sided with them. They claimed the gate was blocking the right-of-way, one officer mumbled, not even looking me in the eye. HOA maps are a little fuzzy around this stretch. Civil matter. A civil matter. They destroyed my property. And just like that, no arrest, no fine, no consequence. Karen waved at me with a smug little wiggle of her fingers. That night I didn't sleep. I paced. Planned. Plotted. Pulled out old blueprints of the gate. Rewatched the footage again and again. I could have sued them, but that would take months, maybe years. And knowing Karen, she'd countersue with something absurd. She'd forge anything to win. She was already under quiet investigation for misappropriating HOA fees. Yep, fraud, plain and simple. So I decided, if they liked my gate so much, I'd build them a new one. One they'd never forget. I stayed up every night welding in my garage, tools humming like a lullaby of revenge. Reinforced steel, high-tension springs, a fail-safe trigger activated by weight and motion. Not deadly but enough to scare the arrogance out of a person. I even painted it the same dull gray so no one would suspect it had changed. It looked innocent. But it waited. It didn't take long. Just 5 days later, the white SUV rolled back down my street like nothing had happened. I watched through the blinds, pulse thudding. They didn't even hesitate. Just vroom right through again. Except this time, wham. The moment the wheels touched the trigger, the spring arms snapped shut behind them like jaws. The gate rebounded with a violent clang, trapping the SUV halfway inside, halfway out. The doors wouldn't open fully. The sisters screamed like they'd been kidnapped. I came outside with my coffee again, hot this time, and laced with pure satisfaction. Looks like you're stuck, I said, sipping slowly. Might want to call someone. Gate's got a mind of its own these days. Karen came running down the street, robe flapping behind her like a deflated superhero cape. She started screaming at me, something about a lawsuit, about how I'd trapped her family, how this was intentional harm. I nodded. Sure, Karen. But they broke and entered, again. And this time. It's all on my camera inside and out. And guess what? I checked the county map. That stretch of land. Private property. Just got refiled last month. You're welcome to contest it in court. Oh, and if you're thinking of forging any documents like last time. I've already sent copies to the sheriff. Her face dropped. Dead white. Then red. Then something between purple and fury. You little. Careful, I cut her off. Any more slander and I'll add defamation to your growing list. That was it. The moment everything unraveled. The officers came again, different ones this time. They didn't seem so sympathetic. Once they saw the footage, the damage, and the triggered mechanism perfectly legal under my posted signs, they just nodded and said, "Well, ma'am, maybe next time respect the locked gate." Turns out Karen had been in hot water already. The fraud investigation. It escalated fast. Forged invoices, false permits, even HOA checks rerouted to her consulting business. One of her own board members flipped on her. Within a week, she was gone. Escorted out of the neighborhood under full legal threat. Her sisters never returned. The gate? Still standing. Now every time I sip my morning coffee, I glance at the quiet street and smile. A little creak from the spring, just to remind them, this gate doesn't forget. And neither do I. Subscribe to my YouTube channel for more wild HOA justice stories you won't believe.